Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, my friends, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to be here because, and it's very important, because you are the new blood which will be needed very soon in this industry. I will explain why. So we count on you. This is very important. I would like first me too to congratulate and to thank the board of this student chapter. You are very dynamic. Thank you for giving your time and energy to this activity, and with talent also. Thank you. And again, thank you to Tennyson, the faculty sponsor. Your role is critical. We know that, and we are playing this role with at perfection, I would say. This is a family fest. You will see SPEI is a big family. As student members, you are not totally, but half members of the family. No doubt you will become full members when you will join the industry and when you will continue with SPEI. It's a truly interesting, rewarding experience during your entire career. You see, it all, when I started, I am no longer youngster in this industry. I have some experience. I can tell you that being SPEI members gives another dimension. So I encourage you to continue with SPEI activities. I will give you a talk this afternoon, half an hour. I will try to do half an hour in two parts. First, I will give you my vision of the future of this industry. And the second part will be some information about SPEI. And at the end, do not hesitate to ask me any question. And you will see, before I start, the future of this industry. You will see the future for the next 2 to 3 decades after, we cannot tell, is really bright. You have exciting and ample opportunities to develop wonderful careers, diverse and very exciting careers. But I will explain why. And let's go with the presentation, if we can. That's technology in action. But we always manage, no problem. Thank you. Here it is. Title, you see what's next. I mean by that what we can anticipate in the next 10, 20 or 30 years for this industry. I've met a lot of people, top level people in this industry. I will give you my understanding about that. Go, first one. First, you understand from the title, I will make some predictions. As you know, or as you will know, making predictions is difficult, especially when you deal with future. It's much easier to discuss about the past. Anyway, discussing about the future is difficult. A few examples here. Just to keep me modest, I will stay modest, but some of the people who have made predictions have been extremely wrong. First, the chairman of IBM, you know what is IBM, stating in 1943 that there is maybe a world market for 5 computers. Okay, I will not comment on that. Second, this will not tell too much to you. Just before the big economic crisis of 1929, a famous professor, at a famous university in the state, telling stocks have reached a permanently high plateau. 6 months later, they have lost, I don't know, 95% of the value. And last, maybe it tells more to you, young people, Bill Gates, which can be considered as a guru. Excuse me, I do not consider myself as an expert or guru, but Bill Gates was a guru. Bill Gates stating in 1981, which may be a long time ago for you, but not for me, 640K of memory capacity is enough for anybody. Okay, I will not ask how much you are using. So many predictions have been wrong. Anyway, I will give you my predictions for this industry. I'm very courageous. Let's go. A few words about demand trends. Important to remember. First, In 2009, the car sales in China overtook the US car sales, and the trend, this will be forever now. So there is a huge demand of energy to give fuel to these cars. There is a demand in developing countries. The second picture, I took this picture in Indonesia. You see, this is a family transportation. So 5 people with a motorbike. And these people, I'm quite sure they would like to have a safer and more comfortable way for transporting their family. And they will have that soon. At the bottom you have the picture of the ultra low cost Indian car, the Tata Nano, which is on sale now. They started selling it a few months ago. Very low cost, no doubt there will be millions of cars replacing motorbikes in developing countries. So a lot of fuel needed for these cars. This is a fact. Remember, worldwide 1.6 billion people have no access to electricity, which means virtually no access to energy. So these people are strongly demanding energy. You have the geographical split. This is of small importance. 1.6 billion people have no access to energy. Also remember, today, the world population is increasing at a rate of 1 million per week, which means we have to build the equivalent of a 1 million people town every week. And without energy, you cannot do that. For all these reasons, you understand that the demand for energy is important, will remain important, and will increase. This is summarized on this graph. This is the so-called reference scenario established by the International Energy Agency. You see, you cannot see clearly the right, at the extreme right is 2030, then you have 2020 and 2010. You see, we are at the 4th mark in this graph. You see that between 2010 and 2030, the demand of energy will increase for all forms of energy, including oil and gas. And why? Because hydrocarbons are not only the fuel for our cars or for the aircrafts we are using when flying, they are the fuel for the world economy. And the only model which works now, the model for growth, is based on energy. Maybe one day some people will find a different model, but that will take time. It will not be within 20 years. I can guarantee that. So strong demand for energy. To satisfy this demand, that will be your responsibility. To satisfy this demand, a huge responsibility. But good news. Contrary to what some people are saying, we have in front of us huge resource of hydrocarbons. Very often people are telling that we are running short of hydrocarbons because they are considering only conventional hydrocarbons, which are represented at the top of this triangle. Conventional hydrocarbons, which have been mostly produced up to now, only very little of others have been produced, are light medium oil or reasonably heavy oil and conventional gas, which are in small volume, but is relatively or very easy to produce. We have been the industry since the beginning of the hydrocarbon era, 1 century ago, more than 1 century ago, has been concentrating on that, on these conventional hydrocarbons. But we have, and this is symbolized on the two sides of this triangle. First, on the right side, you have for gas a lot of unconventional gas, tight gas, and gas shale. We have also for oil a lot of extra heavy oil, in Canada, mostly in Canada and Venezuela, oil sands and oil shale. And all these unconventional hydrocarbons, which are represented at the bottom of this triangle, are in enormous volumes, but are challenging to produce. That's the reason why people have not started producing them. Except for gas. For gas, people, the industry has started producing gas shales in North America not so long ago, 1 or 2 years ago. Exploration is starting quickly in Central Europe. No doubt that production of shale gas will take off in Europe. And interestingly, this relates to my first slide about the difficulty to make predictions. As recently as 5 years ago, nobody was forecasting that. Now we have plenty of gas on the radar screen, plenty of gas in many parts of the world, in Australia too. In Australia they are launching projects with unconventional gas linked to LNG plants, which would have been a stupid idea 5 years ago, a crazy idea 5 years ago, and this is happening now. So unconventional hydrocarbons, the development of unconventional hydrocarbons is difficult to predict, is happening now for gas, and will happen one day for oil, which means we have large volumes of oil in front of us. And contrary to what some people are telling, geology is not a limiting factor. Anyway, and talking about oil, because for gas we have plenty of gas, we'll have plenty of gas production in the future. Talking about oil, which is difficult to replace for many applications. On this graph, you have on the vertical axis the daily production capacity in million barrels per day. You see the scale goes from 0 to 120 million barrels per day, and we are producing now around 85, 86 million barrels per day. And we are just at the two curves separate. Two important things to mention. First, as explained earlier on the graph about demand, the demand of oil will increase at a rate of, let's say, 1 to 1.5% per year. That's a curve which climbs. At the same time, our producing fields will decrease at a rate, are aging, and will decrease at a average rate of about 5 to 6% per year. Which means that you have a gap which is widening, which has to be filled by new production, new fields, new recovery techniques, new production capacity. Practically, what does it mean? Last year, or 08, the production was around 85 million barrels per day. The demand 10 years from now will be around 95, from what I've been showing earlier. And to get this 95%, we don't need to add 10 million barrels per day, but 45. And 45 is about half, more than half of today's production. This is a challenge of this industry. This is a challenge you will face. Very exciting challenge, and this challenge can be matched, but that will be very exciting and very difficult. I will come back after to this one. A few words about CO2 emission and climate security. I will not talk about global warming, which is a controversial issue. I will talk about facts. This is a CO2 concentration. Consider only the curve which is climbing. The other one I will not comment today, for lack of time. On the z-axis, this is CO2 concentration in the atmosphere versus time. You clearly see that it's increasing in 2 points. You see the effect of the seasonal effect due to the biomass incidental. So this is a fact, and we are accused as an industry of being major contributors to that. This is not true. I will show you why.